Hello, hello. So, in today's episode, we are going to talk about starting, scaling, and breaking through plateaus in your private practice. So, no matter where you are at, if you are somebody who is not yet gotten started, or you've started, but you are like, I'm ready to earn more, I've kind of like hit an income ceiling for me at this personal level, and I really want to take it to the next level, this episode is going to be for you. Right? I think getting started is its own sort of plateau of like there is a little bit of a mountain you need to climb in order to feel like you are ready to start seeing clients. But then after that, things can pick up really quickly. And oftentimes I see that it's, a few months or a few years in that therapists start to ask, like, okay, yeah, this is good, but now what? Like, how do I go that next step further? And this is totally common, right? When you hit an income plateau, that does not mean that you have failed or that your business is stuck. It is simply meaning that you are ready for a new layer of growth, and you probably need to shift things in your practice in order to sort of like accomplish that goal. And I've had many, plateaus and like quantum leaps, I feel say, but like breakthroughs on the other side of that plateau many, many, many times in my business. So I'm just going to start off by sharing a few to sort of give you an idea of what this can look like. And then we will dive into today's episode. So first off was when I was at a group private practice working in the evenings in addition to my full-time job. I was seeing quite a few clients and I was able to get my income up to like that $2,000 to $3,000 a month mark from just the group therapy practice that I was working at. But I was certainly at a plateau because I was making like $45 a session and I couldn't see more clients, right? Like I had reached the maximum number of hours in my day. This is really during COVID. And so I had like a lot more flexibility and willingness, I think, to work because I was quite bored, to be honest. We were in like full lockdown mode in New York City. And I was stuck at a plateau there because my earning potential was really capped. And so the way that I sort of broke through that plateau was by leaving the group practice and starting my own practice. When I started, I was seeing insurance clients through Alma, but I was getting paid like $125 a session, which was almost triple what I was earning at the group practice when I was seeing insurance through them. And so I was able to get to really consistent 10K months after I, moved those clients from the group practice to my own practice and got a few new insurance people as well. And so that was amazing, right? But then that also sort of became like another plateau. Again, I was working full time at a nonprofit then. And so I was capped for the number of hours that I could see clients. And I knew that I was really wanting to do more, go full time in my private practice, that kind of thing. And so the way that I broke through that plateau of 10K months was quitting my full-time job, right? By this point, I had started my Instagram page. I was starting to get a few private pay clients. And again, I was hitting consistent 10K months with my part-time practice. And so I knew like I had the stability to be able to do this. And when I quit my full-time job, that opened up so many more hours for me to be able to see clients and to be able to market myself, which ultimately led to me being able to leave insurance panels and see clients on my own private pay. And so that was sort of how I broke through that income plateau, right? Was by freeing up way more of my time. And so the next month after I quit my full-time job, I earned 15K. And then after that, I was at pretty consistent 20K months moving forward. Then sort of entered new plateau, right? 20K months was the number that I was quote unquote stuck at. Great place to be. But at some point I was like, okay, like, I'm working hard. I want this to go further. I'm still doing my Instagram thing. Like, where are we going with this? Right. And I was stuck at those quote unquote, at those 20K months for quite a while. I think a little more than a year. And it was when I launched like my evergreen funnel for Private Practice Academy that I was able to jump from 20K months to like $30,000 to $40,000 months. And what an evergreen funnel is basically like, you'll see on my Business of Therapy page, oftentimes I promote free trainings that are not live. I do live trainings maybe 2 or 3 times a year. But an evergreen funnel is like a pre-recorded training that people can attend. I teach a lot about Instagram and how to market your practice. And then once people go through and they watch that training, they get a time-limited discount on Private Practice Academy. And so by setting up like all the check, the sales, the emails, the marketing behind that, I was really able to sort of like break through that revenue ceiling and get to those 30 to 40K months. Now, I was stuck at 30 to 40K months for quite a bit after that until April 2023 when I decided to do my first big live launch for Private Practice Academy in like 2 years. And so at this point, I hosted like a free live training. I showed up on Instagram every day for 10 days. I pushed emails to my entire email list and really did like a concrete sale for everybody at the same time. And April 2023 was the first time I hit a $60,000 month, which was amazing. And it was really cool to see like, okay, the effort of actually launching and putting all this marketing together is going to have a substantial impact on my income. And so I was able to do it. And then about another 6 months after that, in November 2023, I had my first $100,000 month. So that was me breaking through like another plateau there. And this required like a lot of changes on the back end in order for me to jump from 60K months to 100K months. So one is I added like high touch coaching in my business. And this has shifted throughout the years, but I've done a mastermind previously. I've done like long-term one-on-one coaching containers. I've done intensives, but I needed something that was going to give me recurring revenue in like the $15,000 to $20,000 mark per month in order for me to get to six-figure months. So that was something I really prioritized. I also prioritized like longer term brand deals. So prior to this, I was really just doing like one-off brand deals. So I would do a reel here, I would do an email here, I would do a random post here, but I wasn't having anything recurring. And so I was always needing to go back to pitch new brands, to negotiate new contracts, all that in order to get more revenue. And so by adding in longer term brand deals, I was able to sort of have like more recurring revenue there as a baseline, which really helps me get to my first 100K month. And the year prior to that, I also launched the Reels membership several times and really increased our membership base, which is also really helpful for monthly recurring revenue and just having like, a good standard going into each month. We talked about Evergreen Funnel a little bit. That was still funneling. I was working on it, optimizing it, that kind of thing. And then I did a big Black Friday sale. And that helped me to get to my first 100K month. And, I've had like maybe half a dozen 100K months since then. And it's always been in a month where I'm able to do a big launch, right? And so for me, in order to be at that like six-figure a month mark, I really am needing to do like a big launch on top of all of these other ways that I sort of have like monthly recurring revenue built in. So that is my like little spiel to say that I have had many growth plateaus, right? As low as like $2,000 to $3,000 a month. And now the plateau I'm not really trying to break this plateau. It feels like more than enough for me. It's 100K months. But I say all that to say, like, if you are feeling stuck in your business, there's always a next level. Just usually it requires you to stop, slow down, and think about, what am I offering here? Am I stuck on time? Am I stuck on money? How can I like shift things in order to create like more opportunities for myself? Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. Let's say that you have not yet started your private practice, and that is the plateau that you are at, right? You're like, I have not even begun. Where do I get started? And I just want to start off by saying you do not need to have it all figured out to start. And I think the same here goes with like adding in additional revenue streams too. So if you've already started your private practice, please hang in there. There's for sure lessons learned here. But oftentimes I think that therapists in particular can really get in this like cycle of perfectionism. I think we all have like high standards of excellence for ourselves. And so we want everything to be perfect before we get started. But really what's going to help the most is moving past that fear of failure, moving past that fear of being messy or doing things wrong, and just starting, right? You can always adjust as you go. So even if you are getting ready to start small, even if you already have a full-time job, you're pretty capped for hours, I would really, really encourage you, if you're listening to this podcast, you are probably somebody who's pretty passionate about starting your own private practice one day. Just do it, right? Like you can find one evening a week to do this. You can do this while you still have a full-time job. You can do this while you are out on leave. You can do this while you have young children. You can do this while you work at a group practice. But try and carve out the time to see 3 clients on your own a week. And the reason why I say 3 is because that can really have a substantial impact on your income, which I think will motivate you to take it even further in your private practice. But I think it's enough that you can really see like, how does this feel for me? How do I enjoy this work like better, differently than the work that I'm doing now? What was it like for me to get these clients? And again, it can have huge impacts on your income. So let's say that you are charging $250 per session. If you see 3 clients a week, that is an extra $3,000 per month, right? That is a lot of money. It is worth it. Just do it. Get your little systems together. We'll talk through them in a second. But just start seeing clients with that goal of 3 per week. So In order to do 3 per week, right, we need to market yourself. So, I think a lot of therapists start off with Psychology Today. I think that that is a very good starting point and something I would certainly recommend doing, but it's probably not enough for you to get those private paid clients at $250 per session. I would also recommend starting an Instagram page as well, because I think that Instagram is like the best marketing tool out there for private pay clients. It is also really important that you are niche down. You can change your mind. Don't overthink this till eternity, but you do need to have a niche. You do need to position yourself as a specialist in order to get clients who will pay you that $250 per session rate so you can earn $3K a month doing this part-time. And then there are a few business admin logistics that you need in order to get started. And, I break this all down in way more detail inside of the Private Practice Academy bundle. But these are the mandatory 100% you must do them things to get started. And there's really not a lot of them, right? So first you have to figure out your business entity. If you are just getting started super part-time, you can certainly do this as a sole proprietor. You don't have to incorporate a whole separate business yet, but I would figure out how am I seeing clients from a business perspective. Again, we go into this way more in depth inside Private Practice Academy. I would also recommend getting a separate bank account, even if it is, again, if you're operating as a sole proprietor versus a business, that is okay. Just open up another bank account in your own name, but it will make it so much easier for you to track expenses and revenue easily when all of your business income and expenses are in a separate account. So I would recommend doing that in the beginning as well. I would recommend getting liability insurance. It is always good to protect yourself and your license. We work really hard for those. And then you need some sort of website or landing page so people can learn about you. They can read your rates and you're doing something besides just Instagram where it's clear that you are a licensed professional. I think that this is a place where Psychology Today can be really amazing because it's basically can function as a website for you, especially in the short term. You can have a bio there, you can have your rates. It's a professional website. It looks legitimate. It shows that you're a licensed professional. So I think that that can be a very easy stand-in that you can get together in an hour or two. And then lastly, I would recommend getting an electronic health record. I would recommend Jane. That's what I use in my own practice. And they have a starter plan if you are a part-time practice that is just $39 per month. And that includes the other things that I would consider mandatory in order to start seeing clients. So with Jane, you have your intro call scheduler, which is important, right? Because we're going to be doing our marketing on Instagram and we want people to be able to take that first step with us, which is going to be an intro call to chat and decide, are you the right therapist for them? When we allow people to self-schedule those, you are way more likely to convert people. So I do recommend getting Jane to have that intro call scheduler set up. Inside Jane, you can also see clients via telehealth. So you need a telehealth platform to be able to see clients. You need that to be HIPAA compliant in order to be compliant with HIPAA. So Jane is fabulous for that. You need a way to send super bills, right? So, we're talking about doing $250 per session. That is private pay. We want clients to be able to use their out-of-network benefits for that. You can send them super bills in Jane, makes it super easy. And then, of course, you need to do your notes, your assessments, your treatment plans. You need to send your consent forms to them, all that good stuff. Jane has a full library of resources and templates there that make it super easy. And so you can literally set all of this up in 1 or 2 afternoons. It doesn't need to be super time consuming or perfect to get started. But that is really the essentials of what you need in order to start seeing your first 3 therapy clients and making that extra $3,000 per month. So that is what I would spend my focus on. If you're my growth edge for me is just getting started, is I would sit down and do the boring business work to get your system streamlined, to create what you need in order to start seeing clients, and then to just start doing it. Just start marketing yourself on Instagram, putting yourself out there and working hard to get those first 3 clients. And it is going to pay off big time. Okay, now let's transition a little bit. You've started your business, you have your first 3 clients, and you are starting to ask yourself, what is next, right? The areas that I really think are important to look at are you niche down enough? And what are your rates? Because I think that those can have the biggest impact on your ability to get clients consistently. So we want to make sure that you are niche down and that your niche is really clear, that you are speaking to clients in the words that they are using before they start working with you, right? So I'm not talking about the client who has so much self-awareness and you've been working with for 2 years and they know all about their inner child and their trauma and these patterns and where it comes from. I'm talking about the folks that are calling you for the first time and saying, hey, I want to start therapy. how are they referring to their problems? What language are they using before you sort of give them the tools to name their issues, right? So I think that that is really helpful and important to think about. Secondly is your rates, right? So your rates are going to have the biggest impact on your income, really the rates and the number of clients that you're seeing. So especially if you are somebody who is starting this part-time, you're going to need really high rates to make good money, right? Like if you are charging $40 an hour through insurance, it's going to take you a very long time, a very high number of clients to get to 10K months. I can't even do the math on that. Um, if you raise your rates and you are able to charge a premium, you're able to meet your income goals a lot quicker. So I would definitely recommend having high rates. I've done tons of podcast episodes on rates before, but I think that having higher rates also positions you as like more of an expert. I think that people perceive you to be a better therapist when you charge higher rates. And so it can also make it easier to even get clients too, assuming that, your marketing matches up, your Instagram looks legit, your website looks legit, all that is really important too. And then the last thing I would look at is like, how clear are you being with people on next steps? So if you are still in the stage of like trying to build up your caseload, I would really make sure that you are using lots and lots of calls to action to tell people to book an intro call with you. So do an audit of your Instagram. Is it clear what state you are working in? Is it clear for somebody who is just skimming your bio, skimming your posts, skimming your reels, that you are accepting new clients and how they should like start working with you by scheduling a free intro call? Is it clear on your website, like what next step they should take? Is it clear on your Psych Today profile? Are you talking with, referral sources about that being the next step? I think that that is super, super important. Okay, now let's say that you are established in private practice, you're earning pretty good money, let's say $10,000 a month, but you have hit another plateau here, right? There can be a lot of reasons why this happens. Sometimes client inquiries have slowed down or stopped. Maybe your caseload is full, but you are not really working with the clients that you're super passionate about working with, right? They're not like clients that are ideal for you in your ideal niche. That can certainly feel like a plateau in terms of like the amount of joy that you're having in your business. Maybe you built your practice with insurance-based clients or private pay clients, even, but on like the lower end of a fee or a sliding scale. And so you know that you want to raise your rates in order to get to that next level, but you don't know how, or you're nervous. Maybe you haven't, had to like market yourself super proactively before. I find that this is true for sure for a lot of therapists who have insurance-based practices. They're like, I just kind of put myself up on Psychology Today. I put myself up on a few directories and I got clients. And now that that has slowed down, I don't know what to do or how to actually get clients on my own, especially for private pay. Or maybe even your caseload is full, private pay clients, maybe you're earning 15, 20K per month, and you're ready to scale beyond one-on-one therapy. No matter where you're at in this, I think it is really helpful to think about leveraging social media and really updating your marketing efforts. The other thing that's important is to make sure that your business is really optimized in terms of time, policies, offers, all of that, that you are really maximizing your revenue and building something that feels either scalable or like it doesn't even have to be scalable. I think that oftentimes therapists feel like they need like a one-to-many offer in order to make really good money, but you can make well into the 20K months seeing one-on-one therapy clients. So I would call that scalable, even though it's not like, infinitely scalable. But we do want to make sure that you feel like you can earn really good money, whatever number that is for you, without needing to work a zillion hours per week. Okay, so let's talk about strategies for sort of like breaking through this plateau. First, I think is like getting more clear on your messaging. So if you are somebody who feels like your marketing is like not quite hitting or not quite landing like it used to, I would certainly revisit your niche, right? Think about your favorite clients. What are they primarily dealing with? Maybe that has shifted since you first started your practice. That's okay. I find that oftentimes as therapists go through their own seasons of life, their own seasons of healing, their ideal clients change, and that's totally fine. But we want to make sure that that is clear across all of your marketing channels, right? So are you niche down on your Instagram? Are you niche down on your Psychology Today? Are you niche down on your website? Do your referral sources know who your niche is? Are you really like stepping into that leadership and stepping into, this is my specialty. I am the authority here. This is who I'm really, really good at helping. And is that clear across everything that you're doing? I think that by really like elevating your marketing like that and really owning that, can really have drastic impacts on your business. The other thing we want to look at is your time, right? So, oftentimes when we are building our private practices, we have to get kind of scrappy, and that might lead to you like not having such strong or firm boundaries, right? Like maybe you were seeing clients really early in the morning or late in the evening or on the weekend. And, that might not feel so good when you are a year, 2 years, 3 years in. I think that can certainly be a helpful strategy for growth in the beginning. But long term, we want to build a practice that feels sustainable, both from like an income perspective, but also from a time perspective, right? And that means prioritizing things outside of work as well. So I would encourage you to look at your boundaries with your ideal working hours, right? And making sure that you have time carved out for like all the different aspects of your business, right? So for sure, if you were at a plateau, you've already had some success. You want to make sure that you are like batching some important things in your business. So this might be batching some content creation, having some time set aside for that. It might be setting aside some time for networking. It might be setting aside some time to redo your website or to hire a web designer and like have them redo it and like really up level things. It might be, going into your electronic health records. So like I certainly did this at some point and went through and like audited everything in Jane, audited when people could do intro calls with me, audited the forms they were automatically sent, like made everything a lot more automated. So that way it didn't take so much time for me to like quote unquote onboard a new therapy client. So that can be really helpful as well. But I think that it is really good to sort of like make sure that your time is good and that your time matches your income goals when you are at a plateau, right? So if you're at 10K months and you're like, okay, I'm at a plateau, I want to get to 20K months, I want you to actually map out like how many clients would it take for you to do that? What times of day would you ideally see them? At what fee? And where does this all fit in order for your business to go like that, right? And if you can make it fit, great. If you can't make it fit, we probably need to look at your fee again. We might need to look at your ideal schedule. We might need to look at your income goals, but see like where can we find that balance that feels really, really good. Okay, so that's kind of on to my next point is if you are at a plateau, it might be time to revisit your fees, right? So do you need to raise your rates? Probably with new clients, with existing clients, really up to you where we kind of start there. But that is going to have a huge impact on your income. So if you are feeling stuck, I would definitely encourage you to think hard about that and think about whether or not that makes sense. You may also need to switch up some like policies as well, right? So if you are not charging for cancellation fees and you are getting multiple cancellations per week, like that can have a huge impact on your income by just like holding that boundary firmer. Okay, like upgrading your marketing strategy, I think is also really important when you're stuck in a plateau. So whether that looks like starting an Instagram for the first time or improving your Instagram, running some ads, I mentioned like redoing your website, that can be super helpful. If this is not sponsored by any means, but if you are looking for a web designer, I've worked with Brandwell Designs a lot and they have done all my websites and do an amazing job. If you tell them Kelly sent you, that you will give you like a little discount, but I don't think that that's necessary when you are like first starting. I would just start with like Site Today and a DIY website. But when you are at that point where you're like, yeah, I'm making good money, but I'm wanting to get to the next level, like creating a business that appears like it's at the next level is super, super, super helpful with that. So it might be, upgrading your website, it might be upgrading your copy. It might be showing up more consistently on Instagram. It might be, getting better at selling, right? Selling in stories. It might be going on more podcast episodes. It might be, networking more, but really thinking about like, okay, where in my marketing strategy do I need to improve? Where can I go kind of like all in more and step up my game? And that is super, super helpful when you are at a plateau. The other thing is I mentioned networking, right? So your network now may not be what it takes to get to like 10K months, 20K months, 30K months. And you might need to shift a little bit the sorts of therapists that you are networking and collaborating with, right? So if you have built a insurance-based practice and most of the therapists in your professional network are insurance-based, they are probably not going to send you a lot of private pay referrals for $250 per session because those are not the referrals or inquiries that they're getting. And like if they are a couples therapist, they're not going to refer one of their couples to an individual therapist who charges $250 per session. if their couples are paying for couples therapy with insurance, they probably want to pay for individual therapy with insurance too, right? And so it's really important to think about like, where are you at in business, or where do you want to go? And how can you network with other people who are there already? I think is super, super, super helpful in terms of getting clients. And then lastly, maybe you are already like, yeah, Kelly, I've done all this. Like my schedule is good. I'm charging $250 per session. My Instagram is popping, like, and I'm stuck at those 20K months similar to you were. And I want to break through to like 30, 40, 60, 100K months. You're probably going to need to launch other offers at that point. And that might be hiring associates, it might be launching a course, it might be doing brand deals or a coaching program. But, at some point, your income does get capped with one-on-one therapy. And it could be capped again at a really good number, like 20, 25K a month. But if you are somebody who wants to grow beyond that, you might need to look at like, what else can I offer here? If you feel like your fee has maxed out and the number of clients you are seeing has maxed out, we might need to add in another offer. And at that point, it's really helpful to, I think, work with a business coach, honestly, who can help guide you along the way. I'm not taking one-on-one clients right now, but I will link my waitlist in the show notes for this episode. Occasionally I open up spots for intensives, and this could be like a really great place to start. But I do think it's helpful when you are thinking about launching other offers to first off, like, invest in team, because it takes a lot of time to build out other things, right? And there's a lot of like admin work involved that doesn't need to be done by you, that we can pay somebody $20, $25, $30 an hour to do. So I do think investing in team is helpful, because if not, we're just going to add a lot more time to your plate in order to build out these offers. And while they will take some more time, we don't want to like have that process take like a year, because it's all relying on you. So we want to look at team, we want to look at your audience, we want to look at like what sort of offers make sense, and then we want to launch them once, twice, 3 times until they're getting to that point that they are really profitable and you are sort of breaking through that income ceiling. Okay, so if you are listening to this episode and you are nodding your head, regardless of what stage you are at, I'm so proud of you. I think that it is amazing to even be at the point where you are asking yourself, what is next? Where can I grow from here? You are not working on autopilot. You are like being intentional in building your business. And I think that that is amazing. And I would love to support you with these next steps, whether that be inside of the Private Practice Academy bundle or even inside of intensive when I open up spots for those. I think that growing your business is hard. And I'd love to be in the corner of therapists who are like doing it and doing the big, ambitious things. So if you want a step-by-step roadmap to starting, scaling, and breaking through plateaus, the Private Practice Academy bundle is really the place where it's at. We are going to get clear on your systems. We are going to get clear on your marketing. And we're really going to work together to grow your income. There's a VIP option as well for like live coaching support from me in a group setting. And yeah, I would absolutely love to have you. If you have any questions, please feel free to DM me at Business of Therapy. We can always chat and see if it's the right fit for you. And in the meantime, I am cheering you on and wishing you all the luck with breaking through these income plateaus and really getting to your next level.